Good evening and welcome to the Civilian Complaint Review Board's first meeting of 2023. My name is Arva Rice. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the interim chair of the Civilian Complaint Review Board. I would like to call the CCRB's January public board meeting to order. I am pleased to announce our newest board member, June Northern. June was born and raised in Brooklyn. After her education and career brought her to Texas, she returned to New York in 2015 to work for Evolution Medical Communications. June has decades of experience in the healthcare and hospitality sectors, and I look forward to having her unique perspective on the board. Unfortunately, board member Northern is sick today, and we wish her a speedy recovery. Would the rest of the board members please introduce themselves now? Starting with Joseph.
Great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joseph Puma. I am the Manhattan City Council representative on the board, born and raised in Manhattan, a child of public housing, and I'm really happy that we're having our community meeting uptown today. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Herman Merritt. I am the Brooklyn City Council designee. I currently reside in Brooklyn. I live in Bed-Stuy, born and raised in Brooklyn. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jonathan Darsh. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the executive director of the agency, and I live just across the river in Queens County.
Good evening, everyone. My name is A.U. Hogan. I'm the Queens City Council designee. I live in Southeast Queens. I'm a member of the CMS Life Camp, Inc.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Rivadeneira. I use he, him pronouns. I am the City Council designee from the Bronx. I reside up in the Bronx. Quick ride down here on the 2 train. It's good to be in Harlem.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sal Carcaterra. I'm a police commissioner designee to the board. Born and raised in Brooklyn, reside on Staten Island, and welcome tonight. Thank you.
And to the board members who are joining us virtually.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Jamat, and I'm the mayor's designee from Queens, born and raised in New York City.
Anyone else? In November, we hosted our first off-site board meeting since the pandemic, and I am very excited to bring this month's board meeting to my neighborhood, the Village of Harlem. Thank you so much to the Harlem Hospital Center for hosting us this evening and allowing us to bring the CCRB to the community. This is an opportunity for people in this neighborhood to have easy access to our board members and share their experiences and ask questions. 2023 is a particularly monumental milestone for the CCRB, as we will celebrate our 30th anniversary in June. 30 years ago, the CCRB was restructured into its current form, ensuring independence and impartiality from other city entities. In the last 10 years, the CCRB has made incredible strides, starting the administrative prosecution unit, expanding the cases we investigate to include sexual misconduct, body-worn camera misuse, racial profiling, and bias-based policing, making members of service CCRB histories available online and more. In 2023, we plan to continue pushing this agency forward. We will keep advocating for direct access to body-worn footage, camera footage, and other NYPD documents that are essential to our investigations. We will continue building our outreach efforts to ensure all New Yorkers know we are a resource to them. Our primary legislative priority for this year is for Albany to pass a bill that exempts the CCRB from sealing statutes. Misconduct continues to be hidden behind sealed records, and this can impede and extend our work unnecessarily. Doing a disservice to all New Yorkers, all misconduct should be addressed. And lastly, we hope to have the needed support from City Hall and City Council to increase our investigative staff to keep up with our increased responsibilities. Last month, the police commissioner sent a letter outlining her intention to reform the disciplinary matrix. A week later, Commissioner Sewell and I met. I reiterated my stance that the CCRB should be involved in any reforms to the disciplinary process, and we look forward to working with them in the coming months. Thank you so much to our outreach and tech teams for making tonight possible, and you will now hear from our Executive Director, John Darsh. John?
Thank you, Chair Rice. Last week, many people saw alarming footage of an officer striking a child outside of a school on Staten Island. The agency received dozens of calls and questions about this incident. While the NYPD temporarily suspended the officer and opened their own investigation, the CCRB is also investigating this incident. After we received notification of this incident, the CCRB outreach team mobilized quickly on Staten Island to ensure people had information they needed to file complaints and other resources available to potential victims and witnesses. In addition to the outreach team, I really want to single out board member A.U. Hogan, who was instrumental in connecting us with folks on the ground in Staten Island affected by the incident. We've been in touch with the school and other neighborhood institutions to make sure that when people have issues with how they are treated by the NYPD, they know to come to the CCRB. Incidents like the one in Staten Island are an important reminder of why the CCRB has a youth advisory council. Young New Yorkers have their own experience with law enforcement and provide a key perspective into how to rebuild police-community relations. We are currently accepting applications for the CCRB's 2023 Youth Advisory Council. If you know, or if you are, any 10 to 18-year-old New Yorker who is interested in serving their community and want their voice to be heard, please go to the CCRB website and apply today. We're going to share this in the chat, but the link is www.nyc.gov/site, S-I-T-E, /CCRB/about/YC-application.page. Right now, our office is open for walk-in complaints from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., but it's also possible to file a complaint online at nyc.gov/CCRB-complaint, by telephone by calling 800-341-2272, or by dialing 311 and saying that you would like to file a complaint against a member of the NYPD. If anyone wishes to file a complaint here tonight, we have investigators on hand ready to take new complaints. Emma and Key, are you guys here? Oh, there's Emma in the back. And I think I saw Key earlier. But if you want to file a complaint with us, we have people here today to take that information. We're going to try and end this meeting by 8:45. If you are joining us online, please use the raise the hand feature to make a comment. For both online comments and in-person comments, please keep those comments to 4 minutes. I want to thank the staff of Harlem Hospital for allowing us to use this space. And I want to thank the CCRB for their hard work in putting this event together tonight, but also for all their hard work every day. And I'd like to thank the members of the public for attending with us tonight. I also want to say, that's it, Madam Chair.
Thank you, John. Does anyone of our members of our board have any questions for our Executive Director? Any questions for our Executive Director? Okay.
There was one thing that I forgot there at the end that I remembered as I got the water. I also want to thank Councilmember Brewer, who's here tonight, who has been a huge supporter of the CCRB, and we really appreciate that you came out to this meeting tonight.
As well as our Deputy Bureau President. So thank you so much, Keisha Sutton-James, for also joining us this evening. Thank you, Keisha. All righty. So we will have a presentation from our Director of Outreach, Jahai Rose.
Good evening. Is it on? Good evening, everyone.
My name is Jahai Rose. I go by he, him pronouns. Thank you very much for the introduction, Chair Rice. And thank you all very much for being here. This really would not be possible without Chris and Philip, who worked effortlessly to ensure that we were able to gain access and all the amenities of Harlem Hospital. So we really want to give our deepest appreciation for their hard work. So as you all may know, the CCRB is a city agency. We are the largest independent oversight entity over the largest in the country. CCRB investigates, mediates, and in some cases administratively prosecutes allegations of police misconduct alleged against members of the NYPD. The agency is governed by a 15-member board, some of which you've met on the dais today and some online. It's 5 members that are appointed by the mayor, 5 are appointed by the New York City Council, 3 designated by the New York City Police Commissioner, and 1 is appointed by the public advocate. The chair is jointly appointed by the mayor and the city council. The CCRB can investigate 4 types of allegations of police misconduct. That includes force, abuse of authority, discourtesy, and offensive language. A helpful reminder is the acronym FATO. Just a little bit of information regarding the Right to Know Act. The Right to Know Act was a law that went into effect in 2018. It impacts police encounters with members of the public, where it relates to stop and frisk encounters, sobriety checkpoints, and other types of police encounters. In certain circumstances, police officers should introduce themselves or notify you of what their information is, such as their name, rank, command, shield number. With some exceptions, officers should be notifying you of the purpose of the encounter or the interaction. They should be offering you, in certain circumstances, a business card, which notifies you of their name and information, in addition to how to file a comment and or complaint about interactions with police officers. And they should be notifying you of your right to say no in the event they request a permission to search your person, property, and or vehicle. This is a copy of what the business card looks like, front and back. There are various ways to file complaints with the CCRB. As mentioned by Executive Director John Darsh, the easiest way is to go onto the CCRB's website, which is nyc.gov/CCRB complaint. You could also call the CCRB's hotline, which is 1-800-341-CCRB or 1-800-341-2272. Remember, if you see footage of police misconduct on social media or in the news, you can also feel free to file a complaint. Even if you were not there in person. Typical hashtags for the CCRB's platforms are at CCRB_NYC. Other ways to file complaints with the CCRB include calling 311. You could also come to the CCRB's headquarters at 100 Church Street on the 10th floor in Lower Manhattan. You could also go to social media, so Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, using that same hashtag, the same handle that I mentioned at CCRB_NYC. You can send a letter to the CCRB as well at 100 Church Street on the 10th floor, New York, zip code 10007. You file a complaint at any precinct in the city of New York. It does not have to be the precinct where the interaction took place. Officers are required to accept CCRB complaints. They could also offer you a physical form and a self-addressed envelope, postage free. The CCRB is hiring. So the CCRB has various positions open, and we were aggressively recruiting positions such as level 1 investigators, investigating attorneys, and APU attorneys. If you would like to inquire about a position that you may not see there, or you just want to submit your resume and cover letter, feel free to submit that to careers@ccrb.nyc.gov. So the Civilian Complaint Review Board has a Youth Advisory Council, as previously mentioned. The Youth Advisory Council are a group of young people between the ages of 10 and 18 that pretty much guide the CCRB and provide us with guidance regarding how to better reach out and connect with young people throughout the city of New York. They serve as ambassadors to their community, and they engage in team building activities. If you are a young person between those ages, or you know of a young person between those ages that's interested in applying for the CCRB and you have questions, feel free to contact the outreach unit at outreach@ccrb.nyc.gov. The chat also has the link to apply directly as well and to gather more information. If you'd like a presentation for your community members of your community, educational institutions, sports programs, feel free to reach out to the CCRB, CCRB's outreach unit at outreach@ccrb.nyc.gov. Feel free to also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jahai. Any questions for Jahai? Any questions? Okay. Seeing none, we're going to hear from local community leaders. Thank you so much for joining us. As a reminder, we're going to ask you to keep your comments to 4 minutes. And at this time, we would like to bring to the stage City Councilwoman and former Borough President, Gail Brewer. Thank you so much, Gail, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of CCRB and this amazing audience and the hospital. So I'm mostly here to say a couple of things about the City Council. I do think that in this budget with austerity, we should be fighting for CCRB funding more than ever. And I want to say that emphatically. I know in the past it has also been a focus of the previous council, but I hope that it will continue to be in this council. And I don't know how you feel about this, so I'd love to feedback, but I know with an agency like the Independent Budget Office, their budget is based on the OMB. And so it will be great, so you don't have to fuss every year about your budget, to have it based on what if NYPD's goes up, then your budget goes up. Or if NYPD's doesn't, then you stay flat. But something so you don't have to be every single year worrying about what your budget is. So that's something that I would hope might be considered. I want to say in terms of young people, we have a huge newsletter. Feel free to sign up if anybody's interested, but we did mention it. And I have to say, just in terms of not CCRB, but there are all these precinct councils. And with all due respect, they work hard, but they're usually older and fussy and not necessarily doing outreach to young people. So I hope that when there is a very vibrant CCRB youth council, that you also work and try to have young people participate in some of the precinct councils, because there is a lot of information that gets shared there. And I'm always going to the ones in my neighborhood, and I've gone to the ones across Manhattan, and it's not populated by young people who could be very helpful to the police, and the police need to hear from you. So I just mentioned that in addition to having the council, try to figure out if we can have more youth participation in the police precinct councils. They also have something to do sometimes. I can't quite figure out the process with who the new commissioner, the new precinct commander is. It's a little confusing under the new process, something to be looked at. In general, I think that in this coming year, the budget is going to be the focus of the City Council. But I also want to just say that every precinct in Manhattan, because that's where we are at least right now, one should look to see what the CCRB complaints are, whether they're up or down, and if they match what you think of is going on in your community. That's incredibly important. I also want to say that, that the relationship between the CCRB and the police is incredibly important. Arbor Weiss, as chair, has done a great job. But I want to say that the council, and I hope this will happen, that Commissioner Sewell should be providing a transparent and collaborative review process. As you heard earlier from the chair. It engages community stakeholders, all the advocacy groups, the public at large, because that is the only way that we're going to have trust between the community and the police department. And the CCRB is trusted. I think it's hard when you don't have enough staff to do the kind of investigations, and that's what we hope the budget will provide. So I'm here mostly to say thank you for inviting me. This is perhaps the most important issue that we are facing in terms of our communities and people feeling safe in the broadest way that term is provided, and the CCRB helps us to do that. Thank you very much, and it's an honor to be here tonight, and thank you to the audience members for being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Brewer. Deputy Borough President, did you have comments as well? Thank you. Deputy Borough President Keisha Sutton-James is coming to this.
Thank you so much, Chair Rice and the entire CCRB board, as well as Harlem Hospital for hosting us here tonight. like the chair, I too am a Harlemite. I grew up across the street, literally across the street from Harlem Hospital. So I am delighted that this meeting is happening here across the street from where my whole family lives and in such close proximity to so many community members that I know and love, in proximity to street corner resources. I just saw Aisha walk in. Hello, Aisha. Greetings to the Queen, Aisha Sekou. I will keep my remarks super brief. Two things I wanted to announce. We are having our State of the Borough on January 31st, also here in Harlem on behalf of Borough President Mark Levine, I wanted to announce the State of the Borough address, which will be on January 31st at City College. So the other direction across 135th Street at Shepherd's Hall at 6 p.m. And we hope that all of you will come. There are flyers out on the table outside so that you can get, keep that information. The other thing I wanted to make sure to announce, because we have so many talented youth in the room, is that we have opened applications for the community board. There's a terrific opportunity for you as youth, people over 16, to participate as members, fully engaged and fully impacted members of your local community board. And community board, and in particular, worldwide, we are specifically looking for youth, and we are specifically looking to increase our numbers of NYCHA residents. So in particular, and in Community Board 10, this community board, we want to really do a special push in terms of NYCHA and youth because we're trying to get those numbers up on this particular community board. So I encourage all of you to come to our website as well. Just to say 2 seconds about what being on a community board means. It means you have input on decisions that are made for this community. So how a park is being redeveloped, whether or not a new apartment building will be able to go up, whether or not certain projects will be funded. These are some of the decisions that you as a community board member would have an opportunity to weigh in on. There is a time commitment, but it's an incredible leadership experience for you guys, and have an ability to have an impact on your community at a very young age. So I encourage you to apply to join the community board. You can go to our website, which is Manhattan BP, as in borough president, .nyc.gov, and go to the community board section for the application. And that's it. Please, please, please apply and share with your youth. Aisha, I'm going to be reaching specifically out to you to make sure that you share it with your youth as well. Thank you all.
Thank you, Deputy Borough President. Should I turn over to your hair?
I think it's money.
Peace. Okay.
Peace. Let me hear you say peace. I think it's my turn. I hope I'm not out of turn, they said, after the Manhattan Borough President's office. It's okay? All right, 'cause I've been out of turn all my life. I don't want to get in line now. So, to everybody, my name is Aisha Sekou. I'm the CEO and founder of Street Corner Resources, where we have employed almost 60 young people, and then those that are not employed are on your corners, your corner stores, your hallways, some backyards, and some places people probably wouldn't want some young people to be, but we meet them where they are. I'm really proud that Street Corner Resources has grown and grown, and now we need another van. So I'm putting that in the air. Actually, we'll be getting another van so that we can transport young people to more events like this and let them have voice. So I just want to say something where the police are concerned, because I had someone do some research, and I never really come and read anything, so I'm not going to now. I'm just going to go by what's been happening, most recent, because we deal with issues with the police on a very daily basis. It's not one incident. Oftentimes it's more than one, whether it's a phone call from a parent, a concerned citizen, and because we are on the corridor of 145th Street, we often see it live and in action at the time. And oftentimes I see police acting out of policy. So there wasn't a particular question for me. and I hope I'm on point right now. But for me, it's on point because it affects us when we have to engage the police and they are acting outside of police policy. And so what do I mean? I mean that across the street from my office more than once, there was a man who the police put their bodies on top of him. And it was, from my count, I have some on video, it was about 15 officers. I felt like I could not breathe while they were on top of him, because my thinking was, of course, back to Eric Garner, but thinking, what does it feel like when something heavy is just on me, like one thing, anything, right? And there were about 15 officers on top of this man, and I went across the street to videotape, and the officer grabbed my wrist. Now it's something different. You grab my wrist, and so it says to me, when these incidents happen so often, and that's just one, and then there was 136th Street right in the shadow of this building right here, a young man that I knew as a kid and a young girl that I got to know, she was slapped down by the police. And then there's, you know, the kids whose heads are being banged on the ground, the police who are acting more and more outside of police policy and using guns as the reason to continue to act outside of policy and to make it okay to go back to some of the behaviors that I thought we had gotten away from. So we're beginning to see those behaviors show up. So I'm just trying to put in a crunch from little, because so many things come to mind, and incidents come to mind of police acting outside of policy. And I guess the one that was the most hurtful, most recent and hurtful, was when I saw the officer beat the young girl in the head. I must have gotten 100 plus sins to me in like no time. By the time noon had come around, or maybe it was the night, it was so many, like, this is how my phone goes off. It's just with so many things that are either current or things that have happened. But in this particular case, the girl was being beat in her head. And how many people saw that video? It's recent. She's about 14, 15 years old. And if you watch it, like I did, over and over again, the girl was pulling her body away from the officer. She was not wanting to be beat. She was not attacking him at that point. And even if she had attacked him in some way before, she was no longer a threat. Once you move away, you are no longer a threat, right? And he kept moving towards her and beating her. So the reason why I'm telling these stories, because I work with young people. My work is every day. I get called by parents whether or not their young person got home okay or whether they arrived at the program. And a lot of the fear that I hear is about the police. If it's not the gang, it's about the police interaction, particularly with young Black and Latino men. And I feel that I'm a mother and a grandmother. I have a grandson that's 25, and he used to come here all the time, and I would be worried about if he was going to interface with the police. So I just want to say, on behalf of my young people in the room who are quite powerful and can speak on their own, I just want to say that this police brutality, police acting outside of policy, police doing behaviors outside of policy, and then making them think, the police will say, I'm going to let you go. I don't want to see you anymore, but it's after they take a beating so that they know they can't have them show up at the precinct beaten. So then they make them think we're doing you a favor, we letting you go, and they let them go on a side street or in front of the hospital or where have you, almost as if it were their fault that they got the beating. Our young people are traumatized. Our young people, we have to convince them to interact with the police. Oftentimes the police will say, well, we're having such and such, and we want to play basketball. Nobody wants to play basketball with somebody who will beat them in the dark tonight. Nobody wants to do rock climbing with officers who, you know, they had negative interactions, and now they want you to smile and dance and do the electric slide and all of that. That's not happening. So police brutality must stop. I say that there are days that we have that are great. There are officers I know, I say, yo, come by out of uniform to my spot, talk to my young people. But the ones that are making it, and I'm not going to say it's just a few, officers need to have a mental health checkup. They need to have a mental health checkup. They need to have a mental health checkup because this work is not easy. Their work is not easy. I understand that our work is not easy, but we're not going to use our young people and our community as the beating ground to take out your frustration. So I just want to weigh in for the young people and say that, you know, they don't like it. I don't like it. I'm going to always say something. I'm not going to be quiet. We're going to continue to stand up, and we're going to continue to ask those that represent us as elected officials to not be quiet in the back room, not be quiet in the back room, not be quiet in the back room where our kids get beat. So that's a challenge I'm putting out. I thank the CCRB for doing this. We are active in this every year that we have been, since we have been asked, which has been a couple of years. And I continue to stand with this work, and I continue to stand as a voice against police brutality and no acting outside of policy. Peace and blessings. I'm Aisha Sekou, Street Corner Resources. I am.
Anyone else who would like to make a public comment, if they can make their way to the podium?
Thank you, Chair Rice. Next, we'll be hearing from, Carmita Randall, Executive Director of Yours, along with Zion, a youth speaker for the organization.
My apologies, Yahira. I couldn't hear you before, so I've called another person in the room. If they could come to the podium and make their comment, and then we'll go to the list.
No problem.
Good afternoon. My name is Taquaya Sumter. I am a representation of Street Corner Resources. I'll keep my statement brief today, but in regards to police and their relations to the community, I think that we should focus on making them more culturally round and culturally sounded, especially when it comes to having the ability to navigate and associate with different people in our community. We're not just one culture, we're not just one fiction or one nationality. They need to be able to relate to Muslim people, relate to Christians, relate to the Jews, relate to the people that can't speak a certain level of literate English, relate to people who don't have comprehension, be able to deal with people with mental health issues. These are things that they're not expertly trained in, and I think that that's something to take note to. Being able to train them to be culturally aware, to be mentally able to relate to those who are dealing with substance abuse issues or mental health issues. I think that that's something that needs to be taken into account. Police are targeted to protect property, not protect humans, not to think into the human mind, not to relate, but to protect property. So when they come out and they look at us, they don't look at us, in my perspective, as a youth in the community, as a human being. They look at us as outcasts or something that's damaging to the property that they are trying to protect, whether it be a certain group of people in our community or a certain group of, or a certain area in our community, I would say. They prize on that instead of prizing on the possessions of our young people, like the minds and our bodies and our spirit and our energy. Being able to relate to people, being able to meet them where they are is the thing that needs to be instituted when these trainings are taking place. Being able to say, okay, I see you. I don't see a substance that you're using, be able to say, I see you. I don't see the mental health that you're going through, to be able to say, I see you. I understand the traumas that you're dealing with. That's something that needs to be implemented when they're training police officers. Because if not, then they come to a place of non-understanding, and that becomes combative. When you can't understand people, you can't relate. You can't see people, we can't meet people where they at, you can't relate. And that makes it hard for them to be able to communicate with us, and therefore make it hard for us to be able to communicate with them. So I'll say that in closing, better training on mental health, substance abuse issues, and relations when it comes to different ethnics of our community is a high standard that we call for as a youth. Thank you.
Wow, that was great.
Forgive me, if I could go to the folks that were just called on online, and then we'll come right back to you, Stephanie. Okay. Yahira? And I want to introduce the two board members who have joined us virtually. If Esmeralda and Willie can introduce themselves.
Esmeralda Simmons,
appointed by the public advocate. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, Bed-Stuy. And I'm glad to be here. It took some effort, but I'm here. Will-
Willie, can you try to introduce yourself again?
Willie Freeman, Police Commissioner Designee. I am from Brooklyn.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Okay. Yahira, can you introduce the person who was waiting on the line?
Thank you, Chair Rice. In person, we will be hearing from Carmita Randall, Executive Director of Yours, and virtually she'll be joined by a youth leader, Zion.
Oh, good evening, everybody. Thank you. So, one of the things that struck me when I'm hearing everybody talk is the lack of respect that police have for our community members as well as our youth. My son was a victim of police brutality, and that actually inspired me to work with youth and do youth programming. So I think that we need to have forums where police come outside and meet us where we're at. Not where, like, we have this forum here. I know y'all mentioned about the precinct council meetings. We need to have them come into this forum and have a Q&A with our youth, because that was very upsetting hearing about the young lady who got hit by the police. And, impacts us and it traumatizes us. And we have to have forums where police and youth come together and have candid conversations about these situations. One thing that I did was I took the Citizen Police Academy. That was an awesome experience. That gave me a better understanding of what the police do. But weren't our youth being exposed to that type of training? Those type of trainings need to be in school so that our youth understand roles and responsibilities of the police officers. And then they can also develop forums where police and youth talk to each other so that they won't be fearful of the police. So many times you see these different incidents on the news and all my kids fear. They cringe with fear when they walk by police, and that shouldn't be. So we have to develop more forums like this, but we need the police in the building to have these discussions, to talk to our youth, to explain to them what their day look like. And then our youth tell them how they feel, what their day look like. When they getting on the train and they getting stopped because they don't have the proper Metro pass. My son, I gotta say personally, my son stopped going to school based on that, because every time he would get on a train, he would be stopped and they would say, "How old are you? Where's your school Metro pass?" They would call me, and I knew the call was coming in because that's the only private calls I receive. And they'll say, "We have your son here. We're detaining him because he doesn't have ID and he's using a school Metro pass." We got to stop that. We got to stop treating our youth like criminals. So that's pretty much what I want to say. We need them to have those precinct council meetings in the community. And you shouldn't have to go to the precincts to meet them. They need to come outside. Do those meetings in community centers, do it in community organizations, do it in libraries, wherever, so that the youth feel that they're comfortable enough to go into those situations and have those discussions with the police officers. We also need more community engagement. The community engagement officers, they do an awesome job, but everybody don't have that skill. So we have to, I want to say, give them some training, so that they can learn how to engage people. Yeah, we know they're supposed to enforce the law, but they have to be able to engage in our community, with our youth, with our citizens. So, that's pretty much what I want to say. I'm not sure if you have any questions, but we need to have forums where young people are able to develop trust within our police officers. They're supposed to serve and protect, but we're supposed to be able to trust them. So that's what I want to say in terms for the youth.
Yahira, I believe you mentioned there was a person on the line as well.
Yes, we have Zion from yours organization as well. Zion?
Hi everyone, my name is Zion. I'm sorry, just give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
Peace and love. My name is Mark. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hello?
Hi, Zion. Can you hear us?
I barely can hear you. It's cutting in and out. Can someone else go so I can get it under control?
No problem. Chair, we had Marquise from Street Corner Resources, but I see there's someone else at the podium. They can go as well.
I need
Peace and
somebody
love. My name is Marquise Sina. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist for Street Corner Resources. And I just want to speak in regards to the police and community relationship. And I have to say it's disgusting. I'm 23 years old, and the relationship with the police, in terms with the youth, is disgusting, especially, excuse me.
Anything else? First window, please.
Either consciously or subconsciously, these police officers see these kids as criminals. And I can speak from my own experience. When I was 14 years old, I was stopped in first for something I was falsely accused of. Me and 5 other people. We came from an after-school program. A couple kids, they allegedly was playing a knockout game, and they thought it was us, but it wasn't. And they wasn't trying to hear us out. Instead of trying to approach us as friends, right off the bat, they seen us as criminals. So we was arrested right on the spot and taken to the precinct. And our parents had to come the same day. Raged, they was angry, they was raged out, and then they had to speak to the police officers about what happened in the situation. But the police officers wasn't trying to give them an explanation. So I have to say, that was 9 years ago when I was 14 years old. Like I said, I'm 23 today. And I see the relationship in terms with the police officers in the community hasn't changed not one bit. And I don't feel like it's going to change in the future unless people in the community make a change. Unless people in the community take action and make a revolutionary change. And that's the only way I see us, moving forward from here. And that's all I have to say, really. Thank you.
Thank you. Yahira? On the list?
Thank you, Chair. We'll be hearing from Deacon Bo next.
Good evening, everybody. Grace and peace. I'm Deacon Bo, aka Deacon Roland L. Smith Jr. That's my real name. I'm a victim of police brutality. My father, which is a minister, he was a minister, as a minister, was a victim of police brutality. We do have a major problem, and our problem is communication. Our problem is that they putting people in our communities right without the proper evaluation of how to really deal with us. And I have to be, totally honest about how I feel about this situation. The respect level, as far as how police treat us, is horrible. During the day I drive a bus, right? And I wave to the police, I speak to the police, and the police act like they don't see me. So it's like they taught or trained to treat us, I'm gonna use the word animals, like animals, because they don't treat us like people. They look at us like we don't exist. And as long as they think we don't exist, they're not gonna respect us. So I'm here to say we need to change the communication between us and the police. We need to increase the respect, beginning with us, about how we get treated by the police, how they protect and serve us. That's our right. We pay for that, especially those of us that are paying taxes. We should stand together as far as how we approach this situation. I believe that, like as Sister Aisha said, the mental health situation is very important in our communities right now, especially with police. It doesn't matter who you are. People are going through so many changes, you know, with the mental health situation. Some people can't pay their bills. There's different situations. You don't know what the cops are going through. But when they come out here to the public, they take it out on us. So whatever's going on at home, it comes to us. So I would like to say that, you know, the respect level, the mannerism, they need to be more personable with us. And we need to, that's something that really need to be addressed with our police. And I believe that the beat walk they should bring the beat walk back as far as when police was in the communities, on the ground, talking to the people, interacting with the people. That's something that we need to really get back into because that's lost. You know, human beings, we're not treated as humans anymore. So I just want to say thank you for CCRB for having me here today. I want to thank everybody, you know, from our team to yours team, and Street Corner Resources. God bless you guys for being on the ground all the time, because without you guys, a lot of things wouldn't happen. The respect level wouldn't be there. So that's important that the community rise up together, because I don't just do this in Harlem. I do this everywhere. We all over the place. We're in every area as we should be, you know, so we have to start looking out for each other. So I want to thank you guys for having us here this evening, and I thank y'all for what y'all do. You know, so we just ask that y'all continue to do what y'all do, and thank you. Amen.
Much respect.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your comment. Yahira, did you have anyone else on your list?
Yes, we're going to see if Zion is able to connect, and then followed by Stephanie McGraw. Zion?
Hi, everyone. Sorry about earlier. My name is Zion. I'm 23. From what I've heard earlier from everybody and what they were saying about the police and especially with the psychiatric evaluation and things like that, I totally agree with that. Just, you know, given the things that I've witnessed in my past, where I've watched my aunt be body slammed to the ground by a police officer who happened to dislocate her shoulder when I was, you know, 13. And, you know, it was very traumatizing to me because I, at that age, thought the police were here to protect and to serve. And, you know, for me, it was really traumatizing to watch that. And I think if the police department, starting all the way at the top, you know, including One Police Plaza, create some type of team or some type of community outreach program where, you know, they're restoring the respect level back into the community, so that way they themselves can have respect from the community. I think that's something that really needs to be worked on, which is the respect level. It's completely poor with, you know, the police versus the community, and how they communicate. I just think, you know, we can work in those areas to strengthen and better it. Because if we don't, honestly, it's just going to get worse, and, you know, things won't get any better, and the police will just ultimately lose the community's respect. And with that being said, I don't know if you guys heard me, I might have cut out, but with that being said, that's kind of all I have to say right now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Zion. Next, we'll be hearing from Stephanie McGraw from Warren. Hi, everyone. It looks like there are just some technical difficulties in the boardroom, but please stand by while while we reconnect. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. We should be back online shortly.
Our folks are trying to do, then we'll be able to go to folks who are online and able to, and would like to make a statement as well.
Thank you. Into the public comment, and so if you have a comment that you would like to make, if you could form a line by the podium, and we once again ask you to limit your comments to 4 minutes, but thank you very much.
My name is Antonio Carrington Bay. Everybody put me as Mo Knowledge in the streets. I'm a youth activist for yours.org. And I want to shout out to, Street Corner Resources. I used to say too. And welcome everybody here. Shout out to CCRB. I hear everybody talking about the police, but I want to just talk to the youth and things of that nature. At one time, I was a youth. I'm 38 years old. I came off the porch at 12. Coming from the Bronx, New York, town. And, everything around me was gang related. And I was raised up in a home that was very, like, church going. My grandmother taught me well, but once I hit the schools and I hit the streets, I got influenced easily, you know. Had a lot of fights. I was a special ed. I had a learning disability. So that's what I thought was the norm. And I normalized that. And, I had an attitude. And, I fought. When I got picked on, I got bullied on, I fought. And then when I got older, 13 years old, went to juvenile. You know what I'm saying? and did years in juvenile for an act I did. And then when I came home, I got older again. Only on the streets for like 2 years, and I went to the bigger jail and I had to do years in that bigger jail. And when I came home from that, I was only home for a year and a half, and then I got shot. And then now I came with my feet. I got 2 drop feet, and I got to walk with a cane my whole life because of this gang stuff. You know what I'm saying? But when I want to tell y'all, you know what I'm saying, y'all have friends that's part of stuff, but y'all need to understand that the stuff that they are part of, don't be influenced by that. You know, the real influence got to come from your household. And if your household is not in order, that means you have to seek out a household, just like Street Corner Resources. That's a household. You know what I'm saying? All that we outside is dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Outside don't have a moral obligation. My name is Mo Knowledge. Mo stands for moral obligation. You know what I'm saying? I have principles that I live by. I have obligations that I live by. You know what I'm saying? And I had to figure that out when I looked in the mirror and I saw my reflection. And the reflection I saw in the mirror was what negativity was bringing. I had to change that. You know what I'm saying? I had to change that into moral obligation, you know? And at the end of the day, we have 2 selves. We got the lower self and we got the higher self. The higher self is justice, mercy, love, and right. The lower self breeds slander, lewdness, murder, death, and kill. So don't breed these things that they trying to teach you out here. If you're going to be part of an organization, make sure it's like Street Corner Resources. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you adopt a mother and a father figure that's going to tell you to do right and get a job. You know? Having fun is rising up every single day, brushing your teeth and taking a shower and going about your business to do the right thing. That's having fun. Having fun is not going to parties just because your friends went to parties. Having fun is not knocking people out. The young boy said, yo, we was playing the knockout game. We used to play that. I played that because my friends wanted to play that. So I understand that. But you have some youth out here that ain't about that, but you would get guilty by association. So the police see you wear clothes like the ones that was knocking people out, then they're gonna, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna say, oh yeah, that's you over there because you out at a certain time. Make sure you be in the house by a certain time. If you're 16, 17 years old and younger, make sure you be in the house around like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, because there's nothing out there after 10. Anything outside after 10 is like shooting, fighting, you know what I'm saying? And if you put yourself in a predicament where people's drinking and smoking, of course you just know it's going to be violence there. So sometimes you got to think smart. You know what I'm saying? For all the people that's OGs in your lives, that's teaching you positivity, you understand what I'm saying? Make sure you listen to them. And the ones that's teaching you negativity, they're not going to be there for that long. So I want to salute the youth that's here right now because you could have been somewhere else. So I want to give a clap to the youth. Everybody in? And, you know, and that with that, I want to thank y'all for letting me speak.
Okay. Thank you for sharing your story and your inspiration. Appreciate it. If there's anyone else who wants to make a public comment, if you can make your way to the podium. Remind you to keep your comments to 4 minutes if you can.
Well, I'm gonna start first. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Felicia Davis. Over the summer, me and my brother, Savion, we were assaulted by the police department, the 23rd precinct, over a speaker. It went from me having to turn my music down into them trying to confiscate my speaker. And my family got involved, which is Savion and my partner who cannot be here today. Excuse me, I'm nervous, so I'm a little shaky, right? But ultimately it resulted in not only them arresting me, but putting my brother down onto the ground with another officer on top of his body. We got arrested. Charges was dropped on all of us, but Sunday those same officers came and started to harass us. They tried to lock us in this Super Gyro, which is the name of the establishment, saying that Savion was reported assaulting somebody or something like that, but it was all lies because we were all together and we came from our apartment down to get this gyro. Now, when we asked the officers to turn on their cameras, seeing as we feel like we're being falsely accused at this point, they refused to do so, but we had friends that were able to intervene into the situation, and the officers backed off. So my concern is, what are we as a community going to do to prevent situations like this from happening? Because it's not just young people we're talking about, it's also women that we're talking about. And I felt like my rights as a woman was violated, because not only was I arrested, but they attempted to pull my pants down. They didn't come another female on site to search me. They took my belongings and refused to give my belongings back. I had over $1,000 in my pocket. I didn't receive my $1,000 until 2 months later after the charges was dropped. That means my family and I had to go without, because the money that I had was to last us for that time being. So I would just wanted to come up and make that statement and say that on behalf of the community, we would like some type of change for situations like that to never happen to occur again.
My name is Savion. Like my sister has told you, I've been through the same thing. She's been talking about how we've been harassed about police, and pretty much almost all of us have been abused by police before. Like, and my speech is going to be about how police should not do what they do just because of their ego, and that they're abusing their rights as human beings to just touch another just because they do what they so-called think is right. So, also like how the day that my sister told me about on Sunday, we had nothing to do with that. Me being falsely accused by the same person that happened like during the summer, that was honestly like really messed up, for the fact that like I had to be the same cop doing the same wrong thing again, even though he should have learned from what he done. So I would say for the youth to like, we have nothing wrong. We've done nothing wrong in that. We should do what we doing, and when cops know they done wrong, you just speak up and just say what you gotta say. And that's all I just gotta say.
Thank you, Phyllis and Savion. I wanted to have our executive director as well as another member of our board, AU, respond before we go to the next speaker.
So we have someone here, we have investigators here today. If you would like to file a complaint about what happened on Sunday, Emma, you're still here in the back, right? Do you guys see? You should go talk to Emma.
Yes, sir.
Emma, can you wave one more time? Did you see her? Thank you.
Thank you, John. And then AU?
Yeah, just briefly, I just really want to thank the young people who's coming out. It's very important for you to really pay attention to what is happening, okay? Because as a young brother had said previously, and there were some inspirational words, but the only way changes of these conditions are going to ever happen if you take a position. Our executive director gave you numbers. If you want to become a part of the youth council, I think you should take that very seriously. You want to put yourself in a position, all right, to make sure that when these things happen, you have one relationship, you have communication, and you have contact. All right, because as the brother says, these things haven't changed since he was 13 years old. All right, and it's very important, and I'm very familiar with some of the things that were spoke about this evening. And past being disheartening, there has to be some type of change. All right, and the change, believe me, we're pointing fingers for people to change. We got to change from inner to make sure that we become a collective. And when we do approach and complain and file complaints, we are not out of order when we do so. It might sound strange, but when it gets to the point for a 12-year-old girl to be getting beaten up like, she was getting beaten up by her mother back in the 60s, that's what happened in Staten Island. All right, and so I think in order for us to change these positions, it's us taking a stronger position. You have a sister in Aisha that I'm very pleased that she came out, and I know the work that she does. I know her personally and professionally. All right, so but don't take the work that you just showed up at a meeting tonight because you wanted to be in, because I know it's hot and sometimes it's warm. Come here and be really woke. All right, be really woke. All right, not laying down, not sleeping, but paying attention, because this stuff is happening to your life and it's going to be affecting you more than anybody else in this room, young people.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did any of the other board members want to make a comment before I? Okay. Thank you so much. And so you saw the person in the back who can speak to you tonight if you choose to do that. Yes, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike, and I'm an employee at Street Corner Resources. I'm a supervisor here under Sister Aisha Sekou. And I just wanted to say this, and I was thinking about it the whole time I was sitting there. So we've all heard that, I guess, police officers are enforcing the law, right? Which, in definition, we hear it and we say police officers are enforcers, right? And by definition, the word enforcer means a person who imposes their will by violence and intimidation. And that's exactly what happens in our community. It's not communal. They're not engaging with the community, right? And I understand they do have a job to do, and it is a really dangerous job. I'll give them that. And I do understand that they want to go home at the end of the night. So I think they have to understand that as well. And again, I wish they were here to hear this, but I just wanted to put it out there for whoever can hear it. We want to go home to our families as well. I want to go home to my son, my daughter, and everyone else who loves me, and I understand that they do as well. They have to understand that too. Thank you.
Yes, please yourself.
My name is Charles, and I agree with everything that has been said previously. And ever since all of this started, I've been wondering kind of like why the police have been starting this up again. And from what I'm getting, I feel like it's the badge getting into their head, because normal citizens aren't really doing this stuff. But I think since the cops have the badge on their chest, they believe it is okay to do what they please because it's what they think is right, and it's not, because it's been affecting everyone else in a bad way. And as I've been thinking, I've been just wondering why this has all been happening, and it's kind of confusing, and I agree with everything everybody else has been saying, that it should be stopped because it's harming citizens and people, young people, people in a bad way, and it's not right. And I agree that it should be stopped because it's harming everyone, and most of the people they're targeting are innocent and haven't done anything. And I agree with everyone else, and I just had to say something. So, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for that comment. If there's anyone else who would like to make a comment, if they could make their way to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Latik. I'm with Street Corner Resources. Sometimes I feel like with the police is like they charge us with these crimes and make us victims sometimes, and you can be an innocent person, and that can destroy your life. You could lose your job, something like that. Now you can't support your family, or now you're not able to vote to even change laws to deal with the police. Like, I don't understand how come, when police officers, it takes so long to prosecute them if they commit a crime against another civilian. Like, I think that maybe we should try to start voting to change laws to have a system to where you can police the police, or if they are caught in the act, they get a severe, stiffer penalty because they're dealing with the public and mass people who are actually paying taxes to support them. So I think like it's you know, it's almost like a crime against humanity. You know, like how could you tell someone not to do something, then you're committing a violent act. You know, it's like you know, someone feels like they're being kidnapped when they're being arrested. People who are truly innocent, you know. And for somebody that's never been sitting in a cell before, that could be truly traumatizing, you know. That could give someone a heart attack, honestly. Or why do you think maybe mental patients flip out and then now the police, they kill them because of that? Half of these mental people are innocent, you know. They don't know what's going on. They're off the medication, whatever, and now they're being subjected to harsh crimes, stiff penalties, and being murdered. So now when do we say, how do we to a higher law, like a higher jurisdiction, whatever you like to call it, to speak on it, to say, hey, you know, we need to have stiffer penalties for these police officers. Maybe maybe if we change their incentives for, like, you know, all these bonuses and pays and you know, when they when it's time to vote and they get their quota up and they get a little extra money. If we change it to you do these crimes or you get more than 3 people reporting you, it's a serious issue now. It shouldn't take 20 reports on one officer. It should take maybe 3. Because I know in the court of law, if you get 3 witnesses on the stand, you're going to jail. So that's all I like to say.
Thank you, Latik, for that comment. And I wanted to ask if our executive director could just take just a brief moment and talk about the process of if somebody files a complaint, what takes so long, just to tell them just a little bit what the process is.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So when we get a complaint, the first thing our investigators do is speak to the person making a complaint and get as much information from them as possible. We like to get cell phone video. We like to get names of other witnesses that were there. We will send out our investigators to go to the scene and see if there is surveillance video. Many locations today have surveillance video, and we can obtain copies of the surveillance video. And we'll speak to people and see if they were witnesses, if they were there, because we'll go to the scene and try and speak to people who are just may have been in the neighborhood and witnessed what happened. The other thing we'll do is request paperwork and body-worn camera footage and other video from the NYPD. Once we've gathered all that evidence, then we will interview the police officers who were involved in the incident. Once we've gathered all that evidence, which sometimes takes a lot of time, our investigators prepare reports, which are then reviewed by the members of the board here. Most of the cases are handled in panels of 3, and they go through the cases and they talk about them, vote on them. And if they determine by a preponderance of the evidence, which means just slightly more than 50%, that misconduct occurred, they substantiate that misconduct and they recommend discipline for the officers. Today, that discipline is governed by the NYPD's discipline matrix, and that lays out penalties that can be given to officers for certain types of misconduct, and they have mitigated penalties, presumptive penalties, and aggravated penalties. And then these things take time because we want to protect the rights of the people who live in our neighborhoods, who walk on our streets, but we also have to protect the due process rights of officers. One of the things that is important to know is that the law and the patrol guide give a lot of latitude to police officers. And so you may say what an officer did to me was inappropriate, and we investigate it and find out you told us the 100% truth as to what happened. But the officer was still within the guides of the patrol guide and still within the bounds of the law to do what they did. And in the old days, you would never find out about any of that. You would just find out that we found the officer acted within guidelines and exonerated the case, and you would just be frustrated. But in 2020, the legislature repealed Civil Rights Law 50A, which kept everything secret. And so now you have the ability to find out what happened in these cases, not just your own case, but in any case. And you can see the rules that the police have to follow. And you can say, as a citizen, as a person who does have a say in making the laws and electing the people who make the laws, that this should change. And so it may seem, as board member AU mentioned, that it is hot and it is warm, and you might not see how this applies to you, or it might not help you change things. But this process actually gives you the ammunition as citizens to make the change that you want to have happen, to see the changes that need to be made. And so even if it takes a long time for us to go through our process, even if it takes a year and a half for us to be able to tell you that we investigated the case and made a determination, that's just the first step of the piece of information that you need to find out what needs to change, or what you think needs to change. And so I think it is important for you to realize that even though things take time, the result you're getting is important.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, John, for that explanation. The only thing that I will add, so basically any time a report comes to CCRB, there's a full investigation. That's why it takes a while. We're collecting that information. This board makes a recommendation. The recommendation goes to the police department, and ultimately the police commissioner makes the final ruling on discipline. The next person, if you could come to the microphone, introduce yourself.
Hi, it's Miss. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, Miss Jennings.
Ms. Jennings.
Jennings, Jennings. This is not, unfortunately, something that CCRB handles. They should. They really should. It would be one heck of a deal. It is a stalking issue that everyone well knows of. The start date is May 11, 2006. The police never did anything to me like hurt me or harm me. They never did any of that. They did something worse. They stand around, drive by and watch as mobs march at me, come at me, grab at me, reach at me, and I'm always at a camera. I just went outside a moment ago and stood at a camera. And when I'm at the camera, I hold up, so subtle, a piece of paper. There was a man called President Barack Obama. He read 10 letters a day from his constituents. He was there for 8 years. He got a letter a day from me. And Twitter got a letter a day from me. Now Biden did. Given in hand of the public engagement, yes. Forster Marlin. What's the young man now that's Assemblyman Blake? Yeah. Never out of his camp got letters that went. But now, was it 12 years? 8 years of 8, 4, 12, and 13 years. I reached out to Mr. Dosh, but he doesn't handle stalking. But if anyone spent the day watching me, your jaw wouldn't drop. You wouldn't have a jaw. People do not grab at me, march at me, reach at me, stalk me, harass me, assault me. Yes, they did. Yeah, oh yeah. Mm-hmm. I had asked officers, Blackman and 2 others, could you please put your body cam on? Booth R145, notorious booth. Booth R331, notorious booth. And I answered, and they said, why? I hobbled down the stairs because I was told I need to have my knees replaced, and my ankle is a hot mess. And I have a heart attack 10 years ago. I have pain here, still in pain here. On the 24th of December, at the wretched place that I'm at, 1 hour. Move. Sonic attacks there. It's very bad. Very, very bad. Okay. I asked if they put on their body cam. They didn't want to put it on. I hobble down the stairs and get into a little bit of scuffle with somebody. So I don't know who assaulted who. So it's a situation that I don't know how it's to play out. But all those letters, that's my paper trail of all that. I show my diary to everybody. That's my paper in case anything happens to me. The underline of this is drugs. I don't do drugs. So I'm going to reach out again, ask Mr. Darsh if he could try to maybe reach out to the mayor for me. If he could try, or any you wonderful people can try. Because the letters that I just told you about were given to everybody that I passed. But they go at every bus and train camera. So when you see me somewhere holding up something, it's one of those letters. The top of every letter says, in case anything happens to me. Because the police stand there and watch it. And again, I don't do drugs. And I'm very concerned for my life. Okay? So maybe Mr. Darsh could see if he could help me out. I had asked if he might be able to meet me with me again. I know it's difficult, you know. I don't know. Okay. Thank you. Have a good day. Very concerned for myself.
Good evening. I just have a question.
Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Mike from Street Corner Resources.
Hi again. Hello again.
Yes, I'm the hospital responding supervisor here at Harlem Hospital. So my question is, you guys do the investigation, and then those findings are passed to, could you say who again?
The New York City Police Department, the police commissioner is the final arbiter of discipline. And so she makes the final decision on whether officers should be disciplined for misconduct.
So the police are policing the police.
I understand your concern, Mike, and I share it.
The police are policing the police, and they're handing out the punishment that you guys found significant evidence to say this did happen. Okay, so this person should be disciplined for this action. And then the police are saying, okay, you guys found that, we're going to discipline them. That code of blue thing exists, right? That wall of blue thing, that exists. I know that exists. So how would someone who has a complaint, a justified complaint, get justice? Because it just seems a little unfair. So my next question is, the next one is, have you guys ever took it to whoever to say, we don't think that the police should be dishing out discipline, maybe there should be a third party? Has that ever happened?
Yeah, it happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
It happens all the time. But the reason why, and our executive director should speak to this as well, but the reason why the discipline matrix was such a groundbreaking breakthrough is it was an agreement between the CCRB and the NYPD that if we were to come to these understanding that they would follow our recommendations. And so that was a memorandum of understanding that was signed with the previous administration. And so we continue to work along this. I really believe that our police commissioner, we've had numerous conversations with her and wants to make sure that people, that her members of service are working in community, working in collaboration with the community. And so our goal and our job is to make her accountable. And that's the reason why the CCRB was created, so that there could be independent oversight. And we all look to partner with you all in order for us to be able to be able to do our job as effectively as possible.
Okay, I have one more question. So when you guys, well, I lost my train of thought because that was a lot to take in, but I'll come back.
That's all right.
All right.
Can I add one? So one of the things that I think is new and useful information is when the police commissioner deviates or does not follow one of our recommendations, she now writes a memo that explains her reasons for doing so. And so we are putting that information all online, and we are moving toward making it more readily available to folks as we increase our capacity to go through the information and evaluate it so that you can evaluate it. That, if you, the collective you or the collective us as the people in the city see the decisions that are made, right? If this is an important issue for people, then change can happen.
That was my next question. I was going to ask if the commissioner is not following the recommendation, and she decides to dish out her own disciplinary action, does that cause conflict with you guys? How does that work? Do you guys have, she has the final say, or is it something where it goes like back and forth between you guys about why her recommendation is different from yours?
So in cases where the board has recommended charges and specifications, if the police commissioner wants to, and charges and specifications are the most serious form of discipline. If the officer is going to receive a penalty of greater than forfeiture of 10 vacation days, they have to receive charges and specifications. If the police commissioner is going to deviate from our recommendation regarding a case where there's charges and specifications, then she has to write us a letter explaining to us her reasoning. The CCRB then responds in writing, explaining why we either agree or disagree with her decision. And then the police commissioner does have the final say. And we are putting all of that information online so that you can see the exchange of letters and the thought process that the CCRB has and that the police commissioner has. With regard to cases with charges and specifications, or if not charges and specifications, but command disciplines or training, when the CCRB recommends lower discipline than charges, those cases, the police commissioner just writes us a memo that explains her decision-making process, and then that is the end of the story, and putting that information on our website as well.
My name is Antonio Carrington, more knowledge. I'm curious, what is the due process that's relevant to police? Because I heard you said that they have a due process, because I know we as human beings, we have a due process as well, but, you know, I want to know what's the due process that's relevant, like the major due process that's relevant to them.
So under the civil service law in New York State, it sets out certain basic provisions that members of service are entitled to before they can be disciplined. Essentially, it says that we have to serve them with the charges and specifications within 18 months of the date of the incident, unless the conduct that they're being charged with could have been charged as a crime. In that case, then there's no statute of limitations at all. But once they're served with the charges and specifications, they're not entitled to a full trial. It's called a quasi-judicial proceeding, which is essentially a hearing. And it's presided over by a judge who is a deputy commissioner of trials or an assistant deputy commissioner of trials who is an employee of the NYPD. One of the things about the CCRB is in the old days, we would send the cases over to the NYPD and their own attorneys would bring those cases. I actually joined the agency 10 years ago as the first deputy chief prosecutor in the administrative prosecution unit, which was revolutionary in its day because instead of just sending the cases to the police department for discipline, our attorneys, and I see one of our deputy chief prosecutors from today in the audience, Andre Applewhite, it is something that we make sure that when we go to trial, there is a public record that the people are represented, and so that justice is served in that people know what happened to the people who were the victims of misconduct.
Okay, so the citizens that's being mistreated inside the streets, there's police brutality onto them. Has those police been, charged or reprimanded in the past 6 months, or they got off?
So we have approximately 2,500 cases a year that we fully investigate.
Right.
Of that, I believe we substantiate around 25 to 30%.
So y'all backed up.
So I actually don't think we are that backed up. I think it just takes time to do the investigations. You heard the work that our investigators do. It is not just rubber stamping what goes on. We speak to witnesses. We go out and we get surveillance video.
Right.
We get the police paperwork. We go through body-worn camera footage. We go through this footage and we use software to try and analyze it and make sure that we're getting as much information as we can from the body-worn camera footage. These are very tough and difficult investigations, and we're good at them.
Is y'all the only entity that actually does this process, or you have other entities where if y'all doing like 100 police brutalities over there, is it somebody else that could do the exact same thing just within New York City?
So I think one of the things you have heard tonight is how tough the investigations are and how much is involved, but you also heard from how much is involved, that we need the money to do it. We need more investigators, we need more prosecutors, we need staff to make sure that these things can be done in a timely fashion. That is not just to be fair to the civilians, that's more fair for the officers as well.
Right.
Because the faster we can go through complaints, then officers who have not committed misconduct can be cleared of the misconduct.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When cases get old, it's not good for anyone, whether it's the civilian who is making the accusation or the officer who is accused.
Mm-hmm. All right, one thing I could say to y'all, the youth, if a police is being called on your location and they there to do their job, and then somebody within that crowd is instigating the situation, some of y'all need to escalate the situation. Because if that person keeps instigating, then that police put hands on him, and a lot of emotions is going to flare, and then that's when somebody else is going to come in, and they're going to try to help the person that's being get their hand put on. Then all of a sudden, it's just a cluster of negativity going on, and that's when the police do their thing. So I need y'all to understand that. Don't get tricked into, going back and forth with police. Because some of the police, that's what they want you to do. Because they know that, not to no disrespect, that y'all backed up as well. You know what I'm saying? So in their mind is they get off. So y'all got to know as the youth, you understand what I'm saying? If you see somebody instigating, de-escalate it. Don't think that y'all being a punk. Don't think that y'all being a coon or a snitch. De-escalate the problem. And if you can't just escalate the problem, remove yourself. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because that person's going to get you in trouble. So thank you, sir.
Yeah, no, thank you.
You should check with your hire about if there's anyone online.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Resources are very important. I just want to say thank you all. I'm glad to see you again. And always grateful for the high corporation. It's active.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for being on the panel. Thank you for the entire panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate your work.
Mm-hmm. Thank you all for coming.
Say something, Madam Chair, 1 second.
Yes. Hey, you want to say?
Aisha, I just want the young people to know that somebody spoke about revolution, right? And there's can't be a revolution without there's an evolution. Okay, and if we don't evolve ourselves to be real citizens like the brother just built about, it becomes complicated. Okay, the executive director talked about stuff that's in the patrol guide. Young people, you have to look at that. And as you are future leaders, you have to look at it and see that maybe some of the things are not correct. And then confront legislation to change that. You're the people that make the change. Be conscious, live right, and do well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. Before we go to the other speaker who's here in the room, Yahira, do you have anyone who has their hand raised online?
Yes, first we'll be hearing from Hassan King, followed by Eric Dim and John Macari.
Thank you. We're hearing from the first speaker online.
Hassan King, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I think I am now, and I apologize for my technical challenges on my end. Thank you, Madam Chair, for accepting my interest to talk. My name is Hassan King. I am one of the civilian ambassadors with the Community Affairs Bureau. Unfortunately, I was not able to get down to Manhattan to attend in person. It is a priority. I'm looking forward to your office doing a public forum in Queens. The specific area that I cover in Queens is Queens South. So I have some good familiarity of Queens South, but I am a Harlem kid, so I was very much interested in hearing this discussion. Having lived and was groomed in Harlem, Minnesink, I can go to talk to you at length about my days as a youth in Harlem and South Bronx. I am just at all listening to the youth that was engaged, and I'm looking forward to that opportunity happening in Queens in the very near future. I wanted to just share some encouraging news about how the ambassador program can help with the process that I'm hearing about, with conflicts with officers, conflict with the process that's in place, and help you be more involved, whether it's the council, CCRB Youth Council, Community Precinct Council, Community Board, our ambassador team, which is a team of about 8 or 9 qualified, passionate persons, civilians, can walk hand in hand with those persons and get them information, but also help with the transformation process that is occurring at our local precincts. I want to also give honor to those officers who are doing the right thing, who are very much engaged, taking the time out of working well beyond 10 hours a day to really work with both families and youth and seniors to build back trust. I have not got too much to say, but again, I look forward to being in person with the public hearings in the very near future. I do have a few numbers I wanted to share, but I don't want to delay the forum at all. Again, my name is Hassan King. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for giving me a moment to talk. And I will be attending the next meeting in person. Godspeed.
Thank you, Hassan, for your comments, and we will be coming to Queens. Yahira, can we hear from the next speaker?
Next, we'll be hearing from Eric Katim, followed by John Macari.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hello everyone. I would like to thank you for the opportunity for listening to the public speak out in regards to civilian complaints and the relationship with the New York City Police Department. My name is Eric Dim. I am a former combat veteran with the United States Marines. I served honorably in Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003. Upon returning home from a tour of duty in Iraq, I decided to join the New York City Police Department, where I served honorably for 18 years and 9 months. The entire time was conducted field operations on the street of New York City Police. As a New York City police officer, I rose to the rank of Lieutenant Special Assignment. I was a New York City kid. I was raised in Brooklyn and Staten Island. I just retired from the New York City Police Department September 30th, 2022. And I know that the Executive Director, John Darsh, is well aware of my name. I have been the subject of numerous substantiated complaints with the Civilian Complaint Review Board by an overzealous Civilian Complaint Review Board, as well as a community of perpetrators that we targeted to remove illegal firearms off the streets of New York City, particularly in the South Bronx. And what I heard from this meeting, unfortunately, was us and them mentality. And we need to deviate from that. And what I've been trying to send a message to the public is that the police officers have observational skills, and the trained eye that sometimes the public just doesn't understand. And the best way I can reflect this is on the recent events that we've just had. A 9-second video that has been viral to New York City and probably the entire nation of Staten Island police officer taking action who was repeatedly punched in the face by a 14-year-old girl. And unfortunately, when we hear that just on the surface, the sound of it is a 14-year-old girl punching a large New York City police officer. And what people don't understand is it's unfortunate that we suffer from the Dunning-Kruger effect. And what is the Dunning-Kruger effect? It was a study that the least amount that people understand the subject, the more they think they can do it. And unfortunately, in a 9-second video, the public does not see what a police officer can see. In that 9-second video, I myself, along with other talented police officers, can dissect it and indicate things that were seen that others may not see. And the best indication I can use to reflect upon this is a book that's called Blink. It was written by Malcolm Gladwell. And in that book, it talks about how an expert can see stuff with the unconscious confidence. And they can see things that others don't see. And that's what it is in the life of a police officer. A police officer sees things that others don't see. And I understand the public is outraged and upset when they see police officers using force. And it's unfortunate, it's ugly, but sometimes it's necessary. And they may not understand what they're looking at because the police officer is the expert. So I'd love the public to get the opportunity to refer to the book Blink and also understand the nomenclature of police work. I did hear someone say that police officers broke away from policy. And in order for her to say that, she has to understand policy. So we need to start to understand policy together and understand the nomenclature of police work before we make a rush to judgment. And we made a rush to judgment on a 9-second video. So let the investigation play out, and then we can make a determination. So thank you for this opportunity, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate having the opportunity to listen to this board and this public speakers as well. And I would like to say thank you to Mo Knowledge. He did give some positive points. And unfortunately, negativity breeds negativity. So Mo Knowledge, I'd like to thank you for bringing some positive points to light.
Thank you for calling in and for your comments. Yahira, who's next?
Next we have, finally we have John McCary joining us virtually.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Can you hear me? Am I good? Hey everybody, how you doing? My name's John McCary. I'm a retired NYPD lieutenant. Chairman Darsh knows me well. I am a retired lieutenant from the NYPD. I did serve as the CCRB liaison for the NYPD during my service in the NYPD. I'm a Brooklyn kid. I grew up in a poor neighborhood. Just a little personal history on me. I was arrested twice as a youth. I was stopped numerous times by the police. I grew up in all Italian neighborhoods, and we were policed heavily. And I have to piggyback a little bit off what Eric Dim said here, because I always say there's three sides to the story. There's the cop side, there's the person of interest, or the person that the police officer interacted with side, and then there's the overall truth of what happened that day. And for us to come together, we truly need an understanding of each other. Citizens need to understand where the cops are coming from, and cops have to understand where the citizens are coming from. I'm sitting here and I joined, and I spoke with Eric, and we both joined here today to try to give a voice to the police officer as well, and the community, because we overall we are members of the community. I do find it disturbing that there is nobody from the NYPD here to represent. I know there's a community ambassador, but there should also be a uniform presence here as well. And I believe that's how we go further. We go further by having these conversations and hard conversations. How could we understand each other if we're not even engaging each other? And whether that's done virtually or in person, I know some of these conversations can be tough, but they do need to be had. There are scenarios that need to be discussed in communities. I'm a kid, I grew up hanging out in parks. I was stopped numerous times by the police. the minute I stopped hanging out in parks, I stopped being bothered by the police, you know, and for a long time I had a chip on my shoulder and I thought it was the police. And then I did get the opportunity to serve the city of New York and serve my community and police in my community, and I saw it from the other side as well. And you know, we're all none of us are perfect, and we're all human, but we need to understand each other, and we need to have incidents, understand policy, and understand how to de-escalate on both sides. You know, we talk a lot about de-escalation with the police, but we never talk about it with the public as well. You know, I see so many incidents rise today that should have never happened, and it leads everybody into a bad situation. And I just really think that it's time that we really do have honest, hard conversations with each other, but we can't, it can't be in echo chambers like this. And you know, I would just really reach out to John and to you, John, and I would say to please reach out to the police commissioner and see what could be done to have people hear the conversations that are happening, and to more knowledge to the public to what the police are encountering and what their job is and how to interact into that situation. So I thank everybody for their time. I think it's a great thing that you have the youth speaking today, and I would just implore that you also have police up here as well. So I thank you all. I hope you all have a happy 2023 going forward and a safe, and I just hope we come to a better understanding in New York City between cops and community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment.
Can I just jump in one thing?
Yes.
And I just, you know, as a police commissioner designee and having done that job years ago, you know, listening to these two former NYPD in the call-in and listening to what went on here tonight, it was very enlightening, and you make some really great points. And you know, there's a disconnect, right? There's a disconnect, and to see the youth here and what we're trying to do, and I think there's a way for it to come together. But I just, while he was speaking, I just want to, if I can, just a couple of words I wrote down. I thought it was refreshing that we had another point of view. I agree. I'd like to see the police here. That would be great. And I think it kind of humanizes it, that it doesn't have to always be an us and them, right? That's I think was a chord struck, and it was a common thread through the night. And so I think, and it's not easy, obviously, right? If it were easy, it would be done. It's something that's worth continually working on. But and that was totally unexpected, and to be quite honest with you. So to hear Eric and John, and to hear where you get both sides of the story, right? And to get some other ideas of maybe how you could de-escalate on the streets for both sides, I think is extremely important. So I would just like to say, you know, we're always working on this. They are trying. This board works very hard when we get these cases. They really do. As John said, it takes a while because they're complicated. And there's a lot of work that goes into this case that the investigators do, a ton of work. So even though, you know, at the end of the day, and somebody made the comment, it is not a rubber stamp. There is even, the recommendations come from a mix of panel members. So there's always a give and take, and we have some good discussions at times. But I think you should just know that the board is working, the chair Oliver is working hard, and to get this give and take, I think is more important than anything to resolve it. So that's all. Thank you, Oliver.
I would like to speak as well.
Yes, my name is Anthony Jennings. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, but I'm a resident of Harlem right now, and I work for a community-based organization in South Jamaica, Queens Life Camp. I'm a youth development specialist. But listening to the comments is this: due process. They go through a due process, right? But on the other side, when someone is being arrested, that due process is violated. So it should be the same. Then it balances out what we're going through here tonight. Now I want to talk about a 9-second clip. How many 9-second clips have we had? And nothing is being done. Or it appears nothing is being done in the communities. We could talk about a lot. We have rogue police officers. In New York City right now, over 50 people have been exonerated, and 30 of them by one officer out of the 77th precinct, Officer Scarcella. So we could talk about 9-second clips and all the injustice. And they talk about as good police officer. So a good police officer, Martin Luther King said, if you witness an injustice and don't say nothing, you're just as guilty as the one that did the injustice. So we have to step up, whether you're in blue or civilian, we have to step up against what's wrong, period. If we do that, then this community needs to be safe. I wasn't scared of the police growing up. They had a job to do, and they did it because the officer in my community knew who we were. So we can't bring people from Westchester, Nassau County to police in the 5 boroughs. You give them all the training you want. You say expert at observing, so is the people in the community. And in my job, in my work, I work with these youth every day, gangs every day, and de-escalate plenty problems, save plenty lives, with no weapons, no bulletproof vests, and go in the same hostile environment they go in. With conversation. Not punitive damage every time you come. We have to have conversations with these youth. We have to listen to the youth. We can't stand behind a badge and say, oh, it's wrong. We had Eric Garner in Staten Island. What happened? That 9-second clip, if that was his daughter, would it just be a 9-second clip? The people are angry and upset because they feel they have nowhere to turn. Yes, it's crime in our community. There's been crime everywhere. But that's what we're going to use to justify that 9-second clip? We have to stop doing that. You got to do the due process and they get everything. But when you're on the other side and you go through the justice system, you're already guilty as soon as they put the cuffs on you. They don't get the due process. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Jahira, is there anyone else on the line?
Board Member Simmons wanted to comment.
Thank you very much. I've been at this hearing or this meeting for most of the meeting, and I want to say that I'm quite alarmed to hear some of the things that are being reported by the youth of Harlem. It seems like the things that we struggled so hard to eliminate in terms of police abuse. The people of Harlem, particularly the youth, feel that very little has changed. That really made me very, very, it saddened me because I thought things were getting better in terms of local police precinct and officers interacting with civilians. Notwithstanding the body-worn camera, it appears that the youth feel things are not getting better, and just based on their testimony tonight, they think it's just a regular thing that continues on and on as a legacy of violence. Well, I want to thank the Chair Rice, and I want to thank the Executive Director Darsh, and all of the investigators and fellow board members for the hard work that we do, and all of the staff at the CCRB. But folks need to understand that, number one, they have to file complaints. We can't adjudicate something we don't have, a complaint we don't get. We cannot adjudicate a complaint we don't get. And we can now bring our own complaints, but we still have to know what happened. And secondly, that this is the Civilian Complaint Review Board. It is not the NYPD Review Board. We are looking at things from the civilian viewpoint, in line with police procedure. So I object to former officers, as much as I respect them, who think that this should be the review board. It was changed to be the Civilian Complaint Review Board because we want the civilian viewpoint on what the police are doing in view of police procedure. And I hope that we continue to move forward. I hope that people bring complaints. And I hope that at some point this board gets to adjudicate and make decisions on discipline. It's a long time coming. It needs to happen. The people have been calling for this for years. We need to move toward that. In the meanwhile, we'll work with NYPD to get the best results possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Board Member Simmons, for your comment. Appreciate it. Yahaira, is there anyone else?
No one virtually, Chair.
Okay. And there's no one else in the room? So, thank you. Do we have any old business to come before the board? Any old business? Do we have any new business to come before the board? All right. Hearing none, I am going to move now that we break into executive session. The agenda for executive session is in the board materials, and we'll receive an update on litigation from the general counsel, and the executive director will provide an update on board meeting trainings and an update on pending personnel actions. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Okay, thank you. All in favor? Aye, all right. We have agreed to adjourn the meeting. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Appreciate it.